If you stop and think about it, the way we live as a species has completely flipped. For almost all of human history, we were a planet of villages, and then kind of suddenly we became a planet of cities. It's one of the biggest, most dramatic stories ever, and it happened faster than you probably think. So let's get right into it, this global shift to city life.
Right. For thousands and thousands of years, the human story was written in the countryside. That was just normal. But in the last century or so, a whole new chapter began. We're talking about a massive, seemingly unstoppable move towards city life that has absolutely reshaped the world we live in today.
Let's put some numbers to this to really get it. If you rewind the clock to 1960, not that long ago, really, only about 34% of the world's population lived in cities or towns. That means 2 out of every 3 people on Earth lived a rural life.
Okay, now let's fast forward to 2020. That number? It's completely flipped on its head. More than 56% of us now call an urban area home. So we've gone from a rural majority to an urban majority in just a few decades. This isn't some small trend. It's a fundamental change in how humanity lives.
And this whole process, this big shift, has an aim. It's called urbanization. But look, it's so much more than a textbook term. You can think of it as the engine that has powered so much of modern life, from our economies to our cultures. But here's the thing about these huge, sweeping statistics. They're all made up of millions of individual people making very personal decisions. So the real question is, what makes a person or a family decide to pack everything up and move from the quiet countryside to a huge, bustling city? So yeah, what's really behind this? Well, it isn't random. It actually boils down to a really powerful combination of forces. You have some things that are literally pushing people away from their homes, and at the same time, other things that are pulling them towards something completely new. The easiest way to think about it is like 2 sides of a magnet. On one side, you've got push factors. These are the negative things, the reasons that make people feel like they have to leave. On the other side, you've got pull factors, all the positive, attractive things about the city that make people want to go. Let's talk about those push factors first. In a lot of rural areas, life can become incredibly difficult. Maybe environmental problems, like farmland turning to desert, make it impossible to grow food. Or sadly, conflict and war can make it just too dangerous to stay. And here's one you might not think of. Even progress, like new farm machines, can push people out because those machines often replace human jobs. So if you're being pushed out, where do you go? You're pulled towards the city. The city offers the promise of more jobs, often with better pay. It means better access to things we all need, like hospitals and doctors. And of course, there are more opportunities for education, for your kids, and for yourself. For millions, the city simply represents a chance for a better life.
Now, it's super easy to think that cities just get bigger because more people move into them. But that's really only telling us half the story. There's another, more subtle reason that's just as important.
And that other reason is something called natural increase. It's a pretty simple concept, actually. Because of better access to healthcare in cities, more babies are born than people are passing away. This means the city population is also growing from the inside, not just from the outside.
So you take this massive wave of migration and you add on this natural increase. What happens? You get something on a scale humanity has just never seen before, the explosion of the megacity.
And the scale here is just staggering. A megacity isn't just a big city. It's an enormous urban area with a population of over 10 million people. I mean, think about that. That's more people than live in a lot of entire countries, all in one place.
What's truly wild, though, is how fast this happened. In 1975, there were only 4 megacities on the entire planet. 4. By 2020, that number had jumped over 30. And all the projections show this trend is just going to keep going, with most of the new growth happening in Asia.
So the story seems pretty straightforward, right? People move to the city gets bigger, and that's that. But is it really the end of the story? Is the city truly humanity's final destination?
It's a really important question to ask. With all this momentum, this huge gravitational pull towards cities, is there any force out there that's pushing back?
And it turns out the answer is yes. This journey isn't just a one-way street. In a lot of the wealthier, high-income countries, we're starting to see a really fascinating new trend emerge.
This new trend is called counter-urbanization. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's the complete opposite of everything we've just been talking about. People are actually starting to move away from the biggest cities and heading back to smaller towns or even to the countryside.
So what's causing this? Well, a lot of it is just a search for a different quality of life. A quieter place, a bigger home, more green space. But the absolute game changer has been technology. The rise of remote work means you don't have to live in the city to have a great career anymore, and that's a massive shift in how we think about where we live.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, we're living in a world that's in this incredible state of transition. At the very same time that millions of people are still being pulled into these gigantic, fast-growing megacities, other people are starting to look for a life beyond the city limits.
And this all leads to a huge final question, doesn't it? As our technology continues to completely change what's possible for work and for life, what's our world going to look like in, say, another 50 years? Will the mega city just keep growing and growing, or are we on the verge of creating a totally new way of living altogether? Makes you wonder, right?